At Dosman Transport, our primary goal is the safety of the children we transport. As a driver, you are our most valuable asset in achieving that goal. We maintain an ongoing effort to help our drivers develop and refine their skills to safely transport students. And with this in mind, we've developed this emergency evacuation training video. The purpose of this video is to assist the driver in mastering the school bus evacuation procedure while sharing with students their role in bus safety. In this video, we will explain ways to evacuate a bus, we'll describe the emergency equipment, where it is and how to use it, and we'll also assist you in choosing and training your student leaders. So there are 4 ways to evacuate a school bus: the front door, the rear door, and then a combination of the front and rear doors, and also alternative exits. In some emergencies, it may be necessary to use alternative exits. Although we won't actually do an alternative exit evacuation in this video, you still should go through possible scenarios and instruct your students on how to use these alternative exits. Alternative exits include the front door release, a roof hatch, and the emergency windows. See, teaching your students some basics about the emergency equipment could make all the difference in a real emergency. As a school bus driver, you are responsible for the safe transportation of the students on your bus, so it is important to get the students involved in their own safety.
Emergency equipment includes a fire extinguisher, first aid kit, and triangle reflectors. Let's take a closer look at the fire extinguisher. In an emergency, there is no time to read instructions. Remember the 4-step pass procedure. If the fire does not begin to go out immediately, leave the area at once. When using a fire extinguisher, remember the pass system: pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. The second item in your emergency equipment is the first aid kit. Make sure that your first aid kit is secured and complete. If you use the materials in the kit, alert the manager so your first aid kit will be restocked and ready at a moment's notice. Third on the emergency equipment list are triangle reflectors. If you must stop on the side of the road or the shoulder of the road, the use of your 4-way flashers is mandatory. If you must stay there for more than 10 minutes, you are required to put out your emergency warning devices, your reflective triangles. Placement of your triangles will depend on the traffic pattern of the road you're on. Please refer to the DOT manual for proper placement of triangles. In any emergency, you will need help to safely evacuate your school bus. This is where your student leaders will come into play. A student leader is an older student who has shown him or herself to be responsible and obedient. You may want to choose up to 4 students to help in this role. Choose your leaders early in the school year. Your student leaders will play a role in the various types of evacuations, including a basic knowledge of the emergency equipment. Your student leader checklist includes the emergency brake, 2-way radio, and the importance of staying calm. Finding the time and opportunity to teach student leaders can be tricky. Take advantage of any downtime. For example, before dismissing students at school in the mornings, or after school while students are loading the bus. In the event that you are incapacitated, your student leaders will need to know how to engage the emergency brake. Because each bus is different, you will need to familiarize them with the location and proper use for your particular bus. Instruct leaders in the proper use of the 2-way radio. They should be able to give the bus and route number as well as the bus location. Student leaders will use the radio only when the driver is unable to do so. In any emergency, the single most important thing to remember is to stay calm. A panic situation will cause injuries. Before beginning your school bus evacuation drill, or in the event of an emergency, you will need to turn the key to the accessory position. In doing so, the intercom, if equipped, and your 2-way radio will work. In emergency evacuations, the school bus driver will identify a safe meeting place, put student leaders into action, remind students to exit the bus calmly and quickly, leaving all personal items on the bus, organize the students in a single file exit, check the bus for any remaining passengers, and join the students at the safe meeting area. Evacuation itself can be hazardous, therefore it should be carefully considered. Evacuate the school bus only when remaining on the bus presents a greater hazard. Let's walk through a front door evacuation. Remember, the best way on the bus is also the best way off the bus. Putting this into action, you will identify your safe meeting place, put your student leaders into action, instructing one to take their place beside the front service door, and the other student leader ready to escort students to the safe meeting place. Remind the students to exit the bus calmly and quickly, leaving all personal items on the bus. Lastly, you will organize the students in a single file exit, alternating the left and right side until all seats have been emptied. Afterward, you will check the bus and join the students at the safe meeting area. Now let's try a rear door evacuation. The rear door should only be used in the case of an obstruction of the front door. Remind your students to take extra care upon exiting the rear door. As before, you will identify your safe meeting place, put your student leaders into action, instructing two of them to take their place at each side of the rear emergency door, and the other student leader ready to escort students to the safe meeting area. Remind the students to exit the bus calmly and quickly, leaving all personal items on the bus. You will then organize the students in a single file exit, alternating the left and right sides until all the seats have been emptied. Afterward, you will check the bus and join the students at the safe meeting place. Remember, you must remind your students to be extra careful while exiting out the rear door. Students will need to be reminded not to jump out of the rear door, but to sit and scoot out the back door using the student leaders to assist them. You must remind the students to exit the bus calmly and quickly, leaving all personal items on the bus. If both doors are safe to use and it is necessary to exit the bus quickly, use both the front and rear doors. As students begin to leave out of the front door, the bus driver directs the remaining students to begin evacuation out of the rear door. Remind the students the basics of the evacuation: moving quickly, leaving personal items behind, and no jumping out of the rear door. When using more than one door, it may be necessary to employ the help of additional student leaders. When all of the students have evacuated the bus, the driver will check the bus and join the students at the safe meeting place. There are also alternative exits. For example, the front door release, roof hatches, and emergency windows. Your students should be aware of additional alternative exits. The first is the front door release. In the event that the driver is unable to open the front door, the student leaders will need to get the students out. Many of the buses have a lever above the door that needs to be switched over to manually open the door. Another alternative exit is the roof hatch. Showing students how it operates will give them another way out if all other exits are unavailable. Emergency windows vary from bus to bus. Both you and your students will need to know where the emergency windows are and how they operate. It is important to introduce the students to the sound of the window alarm so that in the case of an emergency, they will recognize it and not be afraid. Not all emergency windows are the same. Make sure you and your students are familiar with the emergency windows on your particular bus.
In summary, for a successful emergency evacuation, you need to know your emergency equipment, where it is, and how to use it. You're going to want to choose and train your student leaders as early in the year as possible. Give firm, clear instructions, stay calm, and practice emergency evacuations. We transport the world's most precious cargo, and at Dousman Transport, we take the safety of our students very seriously.